Hello again, welcome back. So I've been on Elvanse 40 milligrams now for 1 month as of the 14th of November. So I wanted to make a video just to kind of update how everything's been going, what the first month on this dose has been like, and what I've noticed since the last video, I guess. So following on from what I said in the initial video after just a week of Elvanse, the biggest change I've noticed has been in my focus, energy and motivation in and outside of work. Inside of work, I just noticed that I'm much more inclined to take on additional responsibilities or tasks, and I've got the energy to follow through with them. Because the energy levels in comparison to non-medicated are much higher. Don't get me wrong, I still really struggle with just getting started with things, I think, is the biggest problem. Like, I can feel the medication working, but I still have that sort of niggling thought in the back of my head that I just don't want to do it if it's boring. But once I get on with it, it's much easier to get in a bit of like a flow state. Outside of work, I'm tackling loads more that I have to do, that I have to get done. I'm taking on extra work opportunities that aren't sort of my primary income. So yeah, the energy levels just throughout the day in general on days off are so much better. I've got the attention to actually follow through with things that I'm doing. Second thing that I'm still really noticing, and it's quite prominent with 40 milligrams especially, I noticed it on 30 and 50 to some degree as well, but they came with side effects that kind of offset the benefits, is the fact that it's so much easier to socialize. I've got a lot more clarity of thought, so if I'm in a conversation with someone, it's easier, definitely, to stay present in that conversation with them and not get sidetracked with what's going on around me or what I'm supposed to be doing, for instance. I've also noticed an increase in my self-esteem just in general. I think partly because of the fact that I have the capabilities to have longer conversations with people and to sustain my attention on that conversation. So that's been a real bonus, and that's something that's sort of cumulative as well. I can feel it growing somewhat. Something else since the last video, which was at a week, I'm now on the shared care scheme as well, with between my GP and my psychiatrist, the consultant. I said beforehand how the medication privately was costing me between £85 and £105 per 28 days, which is crazy money, especially on top of the fact that the assessment is £550 on its own. So having this shared care scheme means that I can just get NHS prescriptions, so I only have to have a 6-month checkup with the psychiatrist. But other than that, everything else is now done by the GP. They just prescribe the ongoing medication since I've finished the titration period. So that's really good. On top of that as well, I've actually signed up to the like prepayment plan with the NHS. So I pay, I think, £10.99 a month. And it means that any medications that I get, however many there might be, I only pay the £10.99 a month, and it's all encompassing for those medications. So the money aspect of this has improved drastically. Moving on to a couple of things that I had noticed in the last video and I'd spoken about, but they're still a bit of an issue. Sleep. If I don't get at least 7.5 hours of sleep, I'm a real zombie, probably more so than if I was unmedicated. I don't know whether that's like a bit of a placebo, that I think I should be energetic and then I'm not, so it gets me a bit more down. But if I haven't got the right amount of sleep, I'm really exhausted. And second to that, I think I also need more sleep on this medication just in general. I tend to function best when I've had 8.5, 9 hours sleep. And I work 12-hour days, 4 days in a row, and then have 4 days off. So sometimes that can be a little bit difficult to get everything that I need to do after work done and then get at least 8.5, 9 hours sleep. I'm also still needing these medication holidays. I spoke about it before that I took 2 days off when I came back down from 50 to 40 milligrams. I tend to need a medication holiday at least every couple of weeks for 2 days, because I don't know whether it's possibly just psychological, in that I feel as though I'm becoming somewhat tolerant to the dose. And if it is, that's something I can tackle in the future, with just overcoming the thought that it's all in my head, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do feel as though every couple of weeks I need to take a couple of days off of the medication completely, just so I can get an idea of what I'm like unmedicated, so then it kind of resets everything. In addition to the tolerance issue, I have become somewhat worried of like a dependence on this as well, and I suppose I just slightly worry that I am going to be on this for the rest of my life. I mean, don't get me wrong, if it continues to make such a huge difference in my life and I need it to function, it's absolutely something that I'm happy to take for, well, indefinitely. But there is, I did say about it in a previous video as well, there is a worry that there's just sort of an ominous feeling of dependence on this for the rest of my life. But I suppose that's my problem to get over. That's all for today's video. It was a really quick one just to check in on 1 month of 40 milligrams Elvanse. As always, if there's any more questions, leave them below. Thank you to the people that have left questions. And also thank you to the people who have subscribed. I'm very impressed that you care enough to actually watch me ramble. But yeah, thank you for subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.